Hello, all my beautiful people. It is time once again for your favorite dad podcast. And the show I'm talking about is If You Give a Dad a Podcast. So this week I have with me Big Joe Helms. He is a wrestler out of the Southwest Missouri area. I actually got to see him wrestle in Siloam Springs a few months back. This guy was awesome, and I think he has a lot of potential. He definitely has that it factor when it comes to his look, and I've got to see a couple of his promos and things like that, and he definitely has what it takes to make it big, I believe. And he had some pretty cool stories. He kind of told me about how he got into it. You know, a lot of what we do is we talk about how people get into the field that they're in on this show. I believe that he had a very interesting story to tell today, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So, if you're as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast. Hey, Dad.
Get back in your car! Go! Get out of here! You can't be here!
I wasn't about to call you Dad, so.
Seriously?
Just for the, the work rate, brother.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she said he looked like an old piece of leather.
Wow.
Supernatural, which is by far one of my favorite shows, and I will be talking a lot about Supernatural. I will be quoting Supernatural.
Bro.
I just remember because they also, everybody, whenever they came to the ring, goes, ooh, 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 ooh. What? Okay, before I get started, have you ever had an idea for a design that you wanted to put on a shirt, hat, tumbler, or even a puzzle? Well, over at R&L Designs, they can make those ideas come true. For the month of August, all ready to ship or local pickup t-shirts and can glasses with bamboo lids are $10 each plus shipping. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Etsy for digital designs. I'll have a link to all of their pages in my show notes. Go check them out for all of your custom needs today. Alright everybody, so today I have with me Joe Helms. He is a wrestler out of the Southwest Missouri area, and I've actually gotten to see him wrestle one time in Siloam Springs. He was a pretty awesome guy, and he's fun to talk to and everything, so I am very excited to have him on today. Joe, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. How you doing, Jared?
I'm doing good, just getting everybody settled down for the night, and now it's time for me to do my podcast and, talk about things that I like.
Right on.
So, how did you get into wrestling? Because I know you said just a few minutes ago that you had a bunch of people telling you have that it look, which you definitely do. What made you actually say, you know what, I'm going to try this out?
Well, back in 2003, I had went to, it was a Harley Race WLW show, and I'd always had the dream, like so many people out there, that they wanted to be a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. They want to know what it's like, And at the time, I just started my family, and I had a couple of little kids. They had to have been three or four or something at the time. Mm-hmm. I got real close to signing a contract with Harley Race to start training at his school in Eldon at the time.
Oh wow!
And I didn't pull the trigger then, mm-hmm. Just because it just wasn't financially fitting for me at the time, and I let it go. I always followed like indie wrestling for a long time. I would go with one of my friends, and we'd go see, Harley. He knew Harley, and we would kind of travel all over, the Midwest area and watch some of the shows. And I always had that itch, but ever since, I didn't sign in and do any training or anything like that. I just left my focus on football.
Okay.
And so I ended up starting to play arena football.
Oh.
So Springfield ended up having its first arena football team. It was the Springfield Wolfpack, and it started in 2007.
I got you.
And I, had ended up going through a divorce in 2005. I ended up, getting custody of my children. So I had custody of all three of my kids. So I was a single dad.
Mm-hmm.
And, my life just felt real depressing. And I was a really good ball player in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran into a couple of friends, and they were like, "Hey, we're starting this team. Won't you come give it a try?" And I was like, you know what? It's been years, since high school. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try, And so I just started working out. I found out when the tryouts were, started working out, getting myself in shape. And because I'm one of those people, like, if I'm going to go out all out and do it, I'm not going to go out there and look like a damn fool. I'm not going to go out there and look like a damn fool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want to be in the best shape that I can because I got something to prove. And
Right.
I've always had that personality of, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so I ended up making the team. First tryout, made the team, made starting position. I was right guard for a little while. We had an issue with our centers not showing up or getting hurt or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I played center a couple of times, literally 2 times in high school, and I did well at it. I said, let me give it a shot. And so I started doing it, and I got obsessed with it. And I was watching everything that I could, Jeff Saturday, just anybody that I could. One of my favorite centers, his name was Brett Helms. He was a center for LSU in college, and I would watch him. I got obsessed with it, and I got really good, and I ended up doing it, playing for multiple teams, and I had like a 15-year career at it.
Oh, wow.
I ended up starting 150 consecutive games since 2007, and I ended up winning Ironman. Well, see, I did arena and semi-pro. I kind of bounced back and forth.
Okay.
And so I got Ironman and semi-pro, and I won 5 championships, 5 rings. I got 5 nasty looking rings in my ring box, and 15 all-stars. I mean, I had one fun ride with it.
Yeah.
I started with the Wolfpack, and then when they defuncted in 2012, I played for the Voodoo. I played for the Voodoo a couple of years, and they kind of went south, went to a championship in that one, and we didn't win that one. And then I left them in 2013 and went to the 4-state fusion out of Joplin and rattled off like 52 consecutive wins and had I three-peated with them, and some of the guys that were there, it was a 4-peat. So, and that was a great run there. And then traveled back to Springfield in 19 and won 2 more in 20 and 21. And that was where I finished up my career last summer.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah, and that's kind of a wild story in itself because I was sitting there. I had a couple of games left, and I had a couple of years, even the 2 years with the championships, I had a great time, had fun, had a blast. I mean, we were blowing people out. Like one score was like 132 to like 27. It was like the most points ever scored in a football game in America.
That's insane.
And yeah, we scored over 100 on a few people, and nobody would want to play us. And it just got to my point where I'm like, man, this is stagnant. Like, I've hit a wall here. I'm 40. Last summer I was 43 years old. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. It's just no fun. It's the same redundant thing every time, every year.
Yeah.
And so, I was sitting at this park, and I was like, God, I said, I don't want to play football anymore. But I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I've got more left in the tank. I said, I've got something to give. I just don't know what it is. I said, I build classic cars and stuff on the side too. But I was like, I don't want to go back to doing that right now. I'm just not a normal person. I'm not normal. Normality is not me.
Yeah. And
I said, whatever it is, God, that you got for me, I said, let's go. Let's do it right now. And I left it at that. And the next weekend, ICWF was having a show in Republic, which was Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
And me and my son was supposed to go to it together, and he decided he didn't want to go. And I was like, I almost did not go. Like I was on the fence. I was on the fence, and I just got done taking a real long walk, working out and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to call them and see if they got any tickets left. So I got the last ticket. It was the last front row ticket they had. I bought it and went to the show. And so I go to the show. I get in there and I get my drink and my piece of pizza, and I go sit down, and I look up and everybody is staring at me. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm looking around, and at the time I see, my trainer Terry Zeller over there staring a hole through me. I see the security staring a hole through me, and I got a guy over the rail that's working for the show laughing at me saying, you look like you could be one of these wrestlers, and everybody around me's chuckling. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so I'm watching the show, having a great time. This whole time, these people are staring at me, and I'm like, am I on candid camera or something? Like, what's going on? And so, in intermission happens, and I get up and I go and introduce myself I didn't know he was the owner. I introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm Joe Helms. Nice to meet you. I'm enjoying the show. It's a great job, and I left it at that. Went and sat down. Show goes on, show's over, whatever. I leave, and the next day I'm at the gym just telling people, how much of a good time I had. And I get a message from the owner promoter, and he's like, hey, it took me a minute to figure out who you was, and once I looked at our messages, I realized who you was. He's like, how would you like to be a special guest in our 15-man battle royal August 28th? And my reply was, only since I was 12. And so it took me a couple of weeks to get like some blood work in, and they required us to have blood work and all that stuff before we could start training. And and it took a couple of weeks, but I was there every Saturday, just sitting in the chair watching and paying attention and learning. I by the time that when I got in there and I started doing all the stuff, I became super fluent real quick, because I was training football still early in the mornings at like 6 a.m. For a couple hours, and then I'd go home, shower, get in the ring from like 11 to like 4 or 5 in the evening.
Oh.
So I would be destroyed at the end of the day. And I'm like, holy moly. And then Sundays they would have an advanced class for some of the guys that had been doing it for like 8 months earlier. And they would just do matches. They would go through matches. They'd work through matches, and they'd try to build up their stamina in time in matches. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that too. I'm going to double dip, because I want to learn this. And so I was just doing it. And two days, my whole weekend, that's what it revolved around. I never watched another game of football.
Wow.
And I put myself through the gauntlet to learn.
Yeah.
And so I was about 2 weeks in. Into training, and my goal was I'd come home and I'd study YouTube. I would get on there and study. And I come in, and my goal was to like impress my trainer, Terry Zeller, which Terry was in the WWF. So, and he's been my hands-on trainer ever since.
Okay.
So I come in there, and it's a Sunday, and I'm gonna do a match with one of the guys. And so, we lock up, and I punch the dude in the jaw, and he spins around, and I just do a standing drop kick and hit him dead in the chest. And at the time I was about 315 pounds. And I took him down, and Terry's eyes got as big as saucers, and he completely stopped the whole thing. And he goes, what is wrong with you guys? And I'm sitting here looking at him like, what did I do? And he's literally yelling at the other students. He's like, Joe has been here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he is further along than you guys are, and you've been doing this for 8 months or better.
Yeah.
And he made everybody stop what they were doing and start drop kicking the turnbuckles. It just kept rolling from there. And once they got me in that battle royal, Man, that's probably the most nervous I ever have been in my life. I wasn't even that nervous when I had my first marriage.
Oh wow, yeah. I can imagine though. I mean, that man
When I
getting
was
in front of
getting
all those
married,
people.
oh, no. I mean, the people are like, you played arena football. You've been in front of like at least 5,000 people. And I'm like, yeah, it's different though, because all the attention is directed on you,
Hmm.
And my thing was, I don't want to get out here and mess up. That was my biggest fear, was messing up.
Right.
There's really no messing up in a battle royal. It's a battle royal.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it went over very, very well. When I came out, I was like, okay, I'm just going to come out with some sunglasses on and just try to not look at the crowd, just be a robot, and get through it, Joe. And I remember sitting at that back curtain and Terry walking over to me and he goes, "You're nervous, aren't you?" I said, "You think?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, shake your hands out. Shake your hands out. Bounce around a little bit. Shake it off. It'll be all right. You'll be fine." And so then it was time for me to go out, and I went out there, and I just, like I said, I was kind of zoned out and like robot and stuff. But what helped was the reception I got from the crowd, because they had pumped me up all these weeks about being in this battle royal.
Yeah.
The reception I got made it so much easier, because another thing was I was afraid of was, are they going to like me?
Right. Yeah.
Are they going to accept me? Because most of the people, they knew me from around the area as being like a football star from around here.
Yeah.
And
Is that what they
always
build
doing
you
stuff
as too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Coming from the Queen City Insane Asylum, and they're just throwing me in, Terry was like, I went out to look for the best, and I brought you this guy, blah, blah, blah. So we pumped it up, for weeks and weeks, to feed the anticipation.
I got you. Okay.
And went through and did it all, and had a blast. I ended up getting screwed at the very end. I didn't win, which it happens.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was it led into a storyline that kept me rolling and doing more shows.
Uh-huh.
And so I just kept having that hunger, and wanting to do more, want to learn more, want to absorb, so then I'd go, do seminars, man. I've did, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 seminars in the last year. I've spent a gang of money on seminars trying to learn.
I've noticed there's been quite a few that I've seen advertised here lately and everything. And I'm not a wrestler myself, but I would love to just be able to sit in and listen on some of that stuff sometime, because it's even though I'm not one, it still intrigues me to see that other side of it. So yeah, I would be the one that would spend a bunch of money on that too. So you're in good company.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some seminars where it was like a 2 hours of just sit down and bring a notepad.
Yeah.
And then I've had some where, surprise, you're going to do a 5-minute match in front of me, and I'm going to critique you. And those are the ones that those pick you off guard, because I went to a QT Marshall seminar in Cape Girardeau back in January.
Uh-huh.
And I come in there and I'm expecting maybe we're going to do some drills, this, that, what have you, and him just tell you what we're going to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a lot of guys that were in the show that were at the seminar as well.
Yeah.
And he got to talking, and he's like, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to pair off and we're going to do 5-minute matches. And my eyes was just like, you're kidding me. Because at that time I did the Battle Royal, which really isn't much. Then right. I had a match with Derek James in October, which was a 5-minute match that ended in a DQ where I got attacked from behind and I ended up winning, which was literally nothing, And then December, I did a tag team match with the Merc Graham Bell, which we did. It was an awesome match. Like I go back and watch it all the time. I've got the footage on my phone because it's probably one of my I love working with Graham.
Yeah.
And that was a show that Al Snow was at, and I got to meet Al Snow, and that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
Got to hear some stories. Got to get some stories from that guy. Yeah. Yeah, and so that was pretty fun. And then that was all I had done until, QT Marshall was like, we're going to do a 5-minute match. And it was like with people we didn't even know, and it was just like thrown in the fire. And so I got through that. and happily he said I didn't suck. And he just told me there was like about 4 things I needed to work on, and he said, by the way, you got a great 10. And I was like, okay, well, but he did say, one thing you do need to work on, and he pointed to my midsection, and I was like, well, I get that. And yes, if you would have seen where I was before, I'm seriously working on it.
Right.
And so, I just, always take, pen and paper, write important things down. It always helps out. That was one thing. I went to a Bob Evans seminar, and Brutal Bob. It was a 2-hour seminar. He literally just fed us with knowledge.
That's cool.
And I've got a notepad of all kinds of stuff that he wrote or he talked about and wrote down. I got to meet Jimmy Hart back in what was it? I think it was February. I can't remember, but at that QT Marshall seminar, I got to meet Kevin Nash, which that was pretty awesome.
Oh wow!
I got to get my picture with him. Yeah, that dude is huge. Like I thought I had big hands.
Yeah,
that guy's massive. You can see him walking a mile away.
That's
and cool dude.
Yeah,
cool dude. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm going to be put into a video game that's supposed to be here in November.
Is that the internet one that's going to be on Steam?
Yes.
Okay.
Valvex Games, Rebirth of the Territories.
Yes, I actually had a guy on here a few months ago who's going to be on there as well. Walker Stewart is actually going to be a part of that as well. And so when I heard about that, I was pretty intrigued. I'm going to have to check it out for sure. And now I've got you on here, and you're going to be on there as well. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I was really stoked about that for only like being around for like a short while, and getting accepted to do that. I was pretty stoked about that. But with the characters that I have now, I really wish I had them at that time.
So how did you develop your characters that you use? Because whenever I saw you wrestle, it was Joe Helms, the Silverback, and it was kind of a more of a heel character and stuff. So how do you kind of base your characters off of, or what do you base them off of?
Okay, so that show, as me being a heel, as nasty as I was in that show, that was the first time I actually went hardcore heel.
Really?
Yes. and so and I'll get back to that here in a minute, but
okay.
So my character, the Silverback, both of my characters that I do have are things from my life, in which a lot of the legends and people on wrestling will tell you those are the best gimmicks you can have because they're easy for you to play and you can play them so well.
Yes.
So the Silverback character, believe it or not, so the last team I played for was Queen City Insane Asylum, and our mascot was the Silverback Gorilla.
Oh, okay.
And it just so happens when I'm in the ring, as you see me, I kind of look like a big gorilla, a big old hulking gorilla in there. And so, also, when you saw me, I didn't have the rest of my gear because that promoter didn't like that. So I just did whatever it was to get some ring time.
Okay.
And so the rest of my gear, I've got these shoulder pads I had made that have spikes and skulls on them, and they're not like the Road Warriors. They're more like an apocalyptic look.
Okay.
And I had this half skull mask that went with it, and that was like my character. So with the pads and the mask, I actually coached youth football in the Springfield area. We were the Springfield Youth Raiders.
Okay.
I had coached that team to like 6 championships, with some other coaches, and we played down in Dallas at the Cowboy Stadium at one time. And so I would show up with my own pads from the house, and I would make these makeshift spikes and everything, and I would deck myself out as like one of the fan raiders that you'd see on TV, and I would come to the games as the mascot and coach the kids at the same time, and it just kind of kept rolling into it, right?
That's really cool.
And so what happened was I was showing the owners of the ICWF, that look, and they were like, "You need to do that." And I was like, I don't know. It's has a similarity to the Road Warriors, and I don't really want to infringe on that somewhat. And they were like, "No, it's not. It's not the same, man. If you tweak it a certain way." They just kept begging me to do it. So I got online and I found somebody to make the pads that I had, and it ended up costing me, gosh, it was like $550 to have these made.
Oh wow.
And the pants that I had, they were my football pants, but you couldn't tell because they already had the Silverback gorilla on them. And I just bought some pro wrestling knee pads
Uh-huh.
and covered up the knees, and you'd never know.
Yeah.
And that's where that gimmick come up with. Now the other gimmick, my heel gimmick now, is the hired gun,
Okay.
which you see me, I look like the gangster mobster.
Yeah, with the fedora and stuff.
Hitman. I look like a hitman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm a hired gun for Stephen E, and he pays me to come in and do jobs on people.
I got you.
And so whenever after I defeat whoever I defeat and finish them off,
Uh-huh.
I pull out a business card and I slide it in their belt and pat them on their belly, kind of like the old mobsters would if they just wasted somebody.
Yeah.
And trying to play the the whole character in and everything. And so that whole look there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so how that happened was I started training with Jason Jones down in Harrison back in December, or early December.
Okay.
And I had made it a personal goal to try to get on the show with him because I was just so enthralled with how he does everything, because he does a very good job.
Yes, he does.
And I would go to his shows and study the crowd wrestler interaction. And that was why I would eat. And so I was down there training for quite a while, and I wanted him to get used to me because he knew me from ICWF, and there was some kind of heat there with ICWF and stuff. And I just got down there long enough to get to know him, and him to get to know me, and him to trust that I'm there to learn. I'm this giant sponge, and I'm still this giant sponge. I'm like short circuit Johnny Five, feed me more input. And so about a month or so goes by, and I'm just constantly coming in and working my butt off. And I pulled him to the side one night, and I was like, "Look, JJ," I was like, "I'd really like to work for you at some point. If you give me a chance." I said, "I promise you, like, I'll work my butt off. I'll work hard for you."
Yeah.
And he shook my hand and he looked me in the eye and he's like, we'll see what happens. And I left it at that. I didn't say another word.
Yeah.
And I just kept training and doing my shows with ICWF and whatever. And he came to me one day and I said, ICWF isn't doing a show in April. And I said, I don't know if they're going to end up doing another show. And so some of the guys told me to go get booked or keep wrestling or keep training or whatever. And I said, so I don't know what's going to happen. So here I am. He said, all right. He said, well, let me think about it. And it might have been a couple weeks to go by. And he goes, come to me and he goes, I know you've been playing face up there and doing all that. But he said, I got a 2-day show coming up. And he said, I'm short heels. And he said, I got a heel job for you if you want to take it. And I was like, sure. I haven't played that yet, so I might as well go ahead and give it a shot.
Yeah.
But I said, if I do it, I have to have Steven Espinosa, because I'm so enthralled with that man ever since I first saw him at Mid-States. I was like, if I'm ever a bad guy, that's got to be my manager, hands down.
Yeah.
And so he stuck us both together, and I went down that night, and he was like, to train. It was that next Saturday. It was to train. It was the Tuesday. It was the Tuesday to train before the show.
Okay.
And Jay comes to me and he says, hey, he goes, do you have any like nice dress clothes or anything like that? And his idea was, kind of like, not Mr. like kind of like a Mr. Hughes, Bubba Rogers type character.
Right. Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, boy, do I. So that character is literally based off of my bouncer job that I've had the last 6 years at a club here in Springfield.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked for a strip club for like the last 6 years,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
it was a gentleman's club,
Mm-hmm.
and I dressed really nice, just like that,
Mm-hmm.
when I worked there. And so I showed up with that stuff, with that, and they loved it. And then I just tweaked it to with the white fedora instead of all black, just with the white and the white, and trying to break it up and accessorize and everything, and just kind of built my character a little bit and just listen to what the crowd wanted. And
Yeah.
they'll tell you what you want. They'll help shape your character if you just listen to them.
Right.
And it just started going really well. And whenever I debuted up there, they had me take out Striker, and that place went nuts. You would have thought that, as a heel,
Uh-huh.
they would have booed you, did not like you because I was with Stephen E. And that's the whole goal, as a heel. You being booed is cheering for you,
Right. Yeah.
you're doing your job.
Exactly.
But I destroyed the good guy for Stephen E. And when Stephen E. was lifting my hand saying I'm the future of Mid States, that whole place erupted and was, bowing, we're not worthy, and all this stuff. And I'm sitting here going, what the heck? Like, I can't do no wrong, obviously. That's that. We went to the back, and Stephen looked at me and goes, "What the hell was that?" And I said, I don't know. I said, apparently they like me destroying people, and so it's just culminated to just storyline that's rolling right now with it, and I've gotten to where I really love the character, and I'm trying to I want to try to get out in the circuit with it and just keep rolling with it. Like I still have the Silverback character.
Uh-huh.
We just don't I just don't know when that's going to pop back out
Right.
or what's going to happen with that yet, but that's still in the closet. I was at one show here in Springfield. I want to say back in June, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Herb Simmons, who's probably one of the biggest promoters in the U.S., man, knows everybody.
Uh-huh.
He's up there in Southern Illinois. He was at the show, and
Okay.
I was the VIP. I was the VIP match, and I was the hired gun, and I went out and did my thing and came back, and I guess I impressed the man because he told me, he said, you impressed me. You were very impressive. And I was like, really? You think so? You watched that? He's like, yeah. And he's like, we'll have to see about getting you up there sometime.
Yeah.
And yeah, weekend for this past, I ended up, getting a chance to go up there, and he put me in the show on the spot without me knowing. Like, I took my stuff,
Uh-huh.
and I went in there, and he goes, "Hey, did you bring your stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "Well, won't you bring it in and come sit in the production meeting?" And I was like, "Okay." And I'm sitting there listening, and he's like, "All right, we got Big Joe versus Flash Flanagan for 3 minutes." And I'm like, "What?" It blew my mind because I wasn't expecting none of that. So he threw me right in the fire with Flash.
You're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it. I was just going to go up there and try to learn some stuff,
Yeah.
just see a different angle, like TV taping, things like that, and boy, he threw me right out there and gave me a couple of matches
Mm-hmm.
to put on, and it's been a wild year in wrestling, and so that day was a 1 year anniversary that I got my first wrestling license, and if you would have told me a year I would be doing a TV taping, I'd have told you was crazy.
Well, I mean, when you got it, man.
Well, I'm not going to say I got it, but I'm going to say I'm going to keep working on. I'm going to say I keep working at it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
a masterpiece is never done, right?
exactly. Well, and the good thing is, I'm noticing this just talking with you and stuff. You're constantly a student of it. You want to learn, and there's a big difference between those who just, yeah, I can do this, and the ones who I want to perfect what I'm doing, and that's the ones that actually make it worth watching are the ones who want to perfect what they're doing. So I can appreciate when you say things like this.
Yeah, so I watched my videos back like gosh, I don't know how many times. And if I see something, it sticks out in my head over and over again, and I just look at it in disgust. And other people won't see it, but
Right.
I'm like, you see that right there? I'm not happy about that right there. I gotta fix that,
Yeah.
and then I'll send the video or something to like Gary Graham and have them look at it, and
Yeah.
he'll send me back his response, and we'll talk in person and tell me, here's what you need to do. This is what I saw, and that stuff will stick in my brain too,
Yeah.
you know, and when that instance in the ring actually comes up,
Hmm.
that advice that he tells me literally pops in my head and goes, okay, this is the spot where I've got to fix this.
I got you.
And
Yeah.
so like I said, I've got JJ, throwing stuff at me. I got Terry throwing stuff at me, and Gary Graham. I got like 80 years of stuff being thrown at me at one time in training.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. So I know you were talking about the Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, and now I know that you have done a little bit of taping with them. How's that actually going?
Well, I mean, I did the one weekend,
Uh huh.
and it's actually there was three shows done in one
Okay.
day. And so the producer, they were really happy with me. They even messaged Jason and told him that I did a very good job,
That's
and
good.
they were happy with what I did, which made me happy that they messaged him, because that dude puts a lot of time and effort in on me too.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky and blessed to have these guys that I have around me.
Yeah.
And the producer gave me his phone number and name and everything, so they could call me for future tapings. So
That's
I'm
good.
glad I just went up there and did the job, and where I was needed, and took care of business.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I'm glad that you were able to get in on that. And like he's a great guy and everything. I just had him on this last week, and just hearing him talk, I know he's kind of uh, he's more of a classic trainer when it comes to the way he does things, and I feel that's still needed in wrestling.
You're right, because so if there's a session going on, and say someone's not getting a lockup right,
Yeah.
or there's some new students not getting something right, it could be as simple as dropping an elbow on someone.
Yeah.
Whatever that we were going to move to, we were not going to move to. We are going to make that session all about that lockup and that elbow drop, and
Yeah.
everybody's going to do it. And so I love that, because then he gets real thorough, and
Yeah.
with his thorough and his techniques, he explains to you why this needs to look like this, why
Yes.
that has to be this way. He just doesn't say, "Hey, do it this way. Hey,
Yeah.
do it that way." No, he breaks it down.
That's good.
It gives you a reason why, and that makes you think, "Oh, okay, now I know why." Instead of you just barking, "Hey, you got to do it this way," he explains it to you. And I'm the old school football guy. If you're not screaming at me, I'm not going to do any better. I want if you need to get in my butt, get in my butt. I don't
Yeah.
take offense to it.
Yeah.
That's like I tell all the other guys. Be honest with me with my matches that I send you. I said I'm a big boy. I can take it. I need it.
Yeah.
Any criticism and negativity about whatever, I need to know. I need to fix this. Don't sugarcoat crap for me, because I don't want to be an always save wrestler out there.
Right.
These guys names are attached to me,
Yeah.
and they've got good credibility.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out there to, let's just say I go to New Breed and I stink it up and I hurt somebody, and
Hmm.
they know that AJ's been training me. That he don't deserve that.
No.
So, but what he does deserve is my undivided attention to learn every time. So I have a good reputation, and he keeps his.
Yeah. So, do you prefer to wrestle as a babyface or a heel?
You know, that's a good question, because I've actually did more time now as a heel than a baby face.
Uh huh.
I think the thing is everybody wants to be loved,
Right.
and if you can be loved as a bad guy, I think that's kind of makes it even better,
Uh huh.
because you can like it's like almost like you can't do any wrong.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody says heel's easy and it's fun, which it is fun
Yeah.
because you get to do all the dirty stuff and the faces don't. But whenever I was a face, I enjoyed it. Like,
Right.
I mean, it was great. I mean, the fans love you or whatever. But then once I started playing heel, because it was really hard for me to play heel because I'm genuinely a really nice guy.
Uh-huh.
And I was always afraid of how the kids would see me, and it just, I don't know. I guess there's one thing that it always played in my mind because I've got kids. I've got 4 grandkids,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and so I always am worried about hey, there's a lot of kids out there that don't have people to look up to,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm the good guy and I'm their hero and I turn bad, and I'm like what they have out there, as far as getting along in life, and I turn to a bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just such a good guy. I worry about how those kids are mentally.
Right.
But I mean, it's just, I don't know. It was really tough for me to get into a heel mode. But once I had that 2-day experience down there at
Mhm.
JJ's show, he had a Saturday and that Sunday matinee.
Yeah.
And that Sunday matinee, I came out and I was dressed, like the Silverback, but I was out there with Stephen E. I learned a lot that day being a heel
Yeah.
because there was some people that gave me some rough criticism, and my job wasn't to be interacting with the crowd very much.
Uh-huh.
And so that next show was Silent Springs.
Okay.
I was supposed to be a face going down there to that show,
Oh.
and I was supposed to take on Chief Atakula Kula. And when I got there, he wasn't there because he had been injured in his back
Okay.
and couldn't make the show.
I wondered about that because I know that he had been billed on the show, I think, and I was wondering what happened
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah, he was injured in his back pretty bad and couldn't make the show. So they pulled an audible and gave me I can't think of his name, but the guy that I played wrestled with. They gave me him, and they let him be the face, and they made me be the heel. And I was like, the whole time I was in face mode.
Uh-huh.
So I had to pull an audible and go, okay, well, since I had that experience down there with Jason,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to amp this up 10 times over because I after the criticism I got it wasn't from Jason, it was just from other people.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm going to make this work. I am going to be the biggest jerk that walked the planet right now. And so when my music came on, I waited and came out when I felt like it.
Uh-huh.
And when I came out, I just attacked the crowd.
Yeah.
Just yelling at them and just acting disgusted and just like I just really didn't want to be there and wrestle in front of these people. And I just let out everything I needed to.
Yeah.
I called it nuclear. I went nuclear on them.
Well, I remember my side. You told us we stunk, so. So I actually put a picture out there, and I think you reposted it and everything, and said that you were calling us smelly or something like that. So
yeah. I was trying to be as clean and mean as possible. There was a group of kids. They were really giving me a time there, and I would scream at them, man. And I would that time I went out of the ring there, and I turned around and there was no railing. There was no railing between us and the fans, And I was like, well, this is a little different. And so I was able to like really get within like 6 or 8 inches of these people and tell them to shut up,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm waiting to just get clocked by one of these guys, And for some reason, I don't think they wanted to try it.
Yeah.
But
well, if anything, it would have been the kids that were there. They were getting right up against the ring at some points. And I was like, man, they need to back up.
I will say that was probably one of the greatest crowds because I felt like my match set the tone for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Because I remember after taking that loss,
uh-huh,
and it was a flash, and I was mad. I was going after everybody in the ring.
Yeah.
As I was leaving, that whole crowd was chanting "na na na na, hey hey hey,
Yeah.
goodbye." Like,
Yeah.
I had them mad. Like I just had them so mad when you have the whole crowd going off on you like that, and then I turn around and tell them all to shut up before I go back in the back. I went to the back. I was glowing in the back because I was like, I know I did my job.
Yeah.
Like it was working, and yeah, and Donnie was the guy's name. That Donnie something. I can't remember. Like
Peppercorn or something like that.
Peppercorn or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went to the back and he's like, "Man, you made that easy on me." And I was so proud of myself at that time. I remember just beaming the whole night and the whole way back to Springfield.
Yeah.
Feeling so accomplished.
Yeah. So that was actually my daughter's first wrestling show that she had ever been to.
Oh, awesome! How did she like it?
Oh, she loved it. She can't wait to go back. So
Right on.
I took my son to one in Bentonville. And now they're like, okay, we both know that we all like it, so now we need to all go to a show together. And
Right.
trying to convince my wife to come with us too. So I'm hoping maybe we can go to a mid-state show. I know they have one coming up in October, I believe. That
Yeah,
I
I
think
believe
we're gonna.
it's October 15th in
Yeah.
Harrison.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make it to that one. I think so. It'll be a lot of fun.
Good. You'll get to see my hired gun version of me,
Awesome.
and hopefully you can catch up the storyline that's going on. If not, then Jay sells the DVDs and you can kind of see what's going on.
Yes.
Let's see. Crown has me booked for a main event match October 22nd. I think it's Silent Springs. I think
Yes.
that's Silent Springs against Brandon Groom.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to see how that plays out. Hopefully that all works out. But yeah, so I'm going to be in a show dry spell right now, unless I get up there and do some more tapings with SICW. I don't have anything booked till the October 15th. So I'm sure somebody will reach out.
Well, I was watching. I usually do this on my lunch at work. I'll go and watch some of the wrestling shows, and I got to watch it was the first time I've actually got to watch the SICW show, and so Stephen E. was on commentary, the one that they just aired.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
That dude can talk. He is very entertaining.
That guy, man, I love him to death. So yeah, we went up and taped 3 episodes that day. And I was there for that. I just wasn't on the show. I thought I was, but it'll be actually next Sunday, and probably the Sunday after that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, man, the conversations we had on the way down. We drove up together and rode back together, and we had such a blast on the way back. Just talking like how much fun we had up there.
Right.
Like, Herb's got a great thing going on up there. I think the night before he had Cowboy Bob Orton up there wrestling with the young kid. He has all kinds of stars. He's got Nick Aldis coming up against Attila Khan.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, that's a big name to be pulling, and that's a very impressive.
When you got Cowboy Bob and you got Randy Orton up there in arm's reach,
yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And NWA is just right up there.
Yes.
And so some of those guys don't, if they're not taping and doing stuff, they're all friends with Herb.
Right.
Herb will get them in there.
Well, and the thing is they love wrestling, I mean, you wouldn't be in the business if you didn't love it. So doing things like that, it's not a hassle for them. I'm sure that they just enjoy just being part of wrestling,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish I was a lot younger and got started earlier, but I didn't have the look that I have right now. So,
Yeah. Well, for me, at one point, I actually was talking to a guy who had his own wrestling school and stuff, but I ended up not going that route because I was married at the time. We hadn't been married for very long, and she was like, "No, I don't think that's the way we want to go here." And so I was just like, "Okay," and I dropped it, but that's totally fine and everything. I'm happy with the way things turned out. I've got my podcast that I do now. I'm remarried, and everything has turned out great. So everything works out the way it's supposed to. I totally believe that.
And with my situation with wrestling, it's like I tell everybody, my mom was always saying, Joe, you look like a wrestler. Come on now, because I'll be lifting weights and, I'll be all jacked up looking and everything. And she'd be like, you look like a wrestler and all this. And family members over the years would say the same thing. And it's one of those things where, you know what, I said, I tried to do it in 2003, and I said, I just completely, let it go.
Right.
And I said, I gave it to God, and wrestling found me.
Yeah.
When it's time, it's time. When things are supposed to happen, it will find you.
Exactly.
And it's like one of those destiny things, like, you developed this look and you walked in somewhere at the right time, dude,
Yep. So did you grow up in a house that did everybody watch wrestling and stuff like that when you were growing up?
My dad was a big fan of Harley Race growing up. They used to go up and watch them. I think is it Harley Race Hall or something like that in Kansas City now?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to go up there when they lived in Kansas City. They said before we were born, and they would go like every Friday and Saturday night up there and watch it live.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I used to hear stories where my grandma used to go watch some of the shows, and she had a bobby pin from Gorgeous George,
Oh, cool.
and it was one of them golden bobby pins he used to give out. And I'll tell you what, that guy was before his time, because I watched. If you go on, I think it's one of these stations, and they have like legendary heels, and you can go on and watch it. And I actually got to watch my first match of Gorgeous George, and boy, they did not like that guy.
No, they did not.
He looked real feminine. He looked real womanly, and they just did not like that guy, but he played it so good.
Oh, yeah.
He played it so good.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
but yeah, we watched a little bit of it. My brother-in-law and his family were massive wrestling fans, so we were always watching WrestleMania. We were always watching the SummerSlam. We were always watching those things when they rolled around, man. And I used to remember camping out over there all day long, because, WrestleMania used to be like 5-6 hours long, and then with like an hour-long intermission.
Yeah.
And we would sit there all day long like a party, And I remember it being, I think it was on Sunday. It was like on Sundays.
Yes.
And it was like, God, I got to get up to school the next day. So, yeah, it was always one of those things, And, I credit a lot of my personality, to watching wrestling. It just, you have to be a different kind of person to be a wrestler. It's like I always say, the weird world of wrestling, because it takes people that have this mind, of art. Like it's an art. It's character building. It's the art of the moves. It's all of it. There's just so much there. I just can't get enough of it. My brain is just wanting to absorb all the time.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And like I said before, you can tell that you are a student of it, and you are willing to learn, and that is so important. And I love hearing that.
I'm always going to be a student.
Well, and if you're not, then something's wrong.
Yeah, that's what they say. If you think you know it all, it's time to get out.
Yeah, exactly. So we're about to kind of come up on a close here pretty soon on this episode and everything, but I want to give you an opportunity to maybe, if you have some stuff that's coming up that maybe you want to announce or talk about, kind of give you that opportunity to do so.
Because we got the mid-stage show October 15th in Harrison, and then I have the Crown Wrestling. I think it's Siloam Springs. That's going to be October 22nd.
Okay.
Mid-States is going to be, the next show in Springfield is going to be November 12th.
So, is there anything that you would like to say to maybe your fans that are listening to this podcast?
Just follow me, hang in there. It's a journey, and we're all taking it together.
Yeah.
You know, I can't, I can't do this by myself. It's like I posted the other day. I said in the last year, I've actually paid some bills and have been fed by wrestling. And if it wasn't for them fans out there supporting me like they do, then I wouldn't exist.
Yeah, right on, man. So if people want to follow you online, how can they do that?
Actually, right now, I have an Instagram, Big Joe Helms on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And on Facebook, you just look up Joe Helms. You'll see my ugly mug on there. So I'm not real like out there social media. I'm trying to build that.
That's a job in itself, believe me.
Man, let me tell you. But I'm just hoping like the word of mouth gets out there, and they want the hired gun. Bring the hired gun in, Stephen E. Let's knock some heads.
There you go, man. All right. Well, it has been awesome talking to you, and I'm going to definitely have to have you come back on here and talk some more.
For sure. There's always a lot more to talk about.
Oh, for sure. All right, man. Well, you have a good night, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah. My name is Cat's Pajamas, aka Cat's PJs. I'm the host of a show called Creative Podcasts, where we talk all things music, musicianship music, influences, music backstories, the origins, where they come from, what do they do, what are they doing now. So if you're into music, if you listen to music, come on over to Creator Podcast, where all the cool cats are hanging, baby. We'll talk about your favorite artists, your favorite songs, conspiracies to funny things, this, that, finger snaps, hand claps, all genres of music. Eclectic, electric, and nothing like you'd expected. So come on over to Creator Podcast and tune in, baby. I'll see you there.
Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. If you're listening to this, then I know you are enjoying the Bumps and Thumbs podcast. In order to continue to run the podcast and get guests on the show, we need support from people like you. Please go to anchor.fm/Brian, BRIAN, Ferguson, FERGUSON, 3, and click on the support button. Once you are there, you'll have options to select from to make a monthly contribution. Your support will help us get on wrestling stars that require financial compensation. Again, that's anchor.fm/Brian, BRIAN, Ferguson, FERGUSON, 3, and click on the support button. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and enjoy the podcast.
Fascinating people, fascinating places.
The weekly podcast available on all major platforms.
I definitely knew I was going to be an astronaut.
That coronavirus is a work of God.
There's a huge conspiracy at work.
There were a number of spies.
It straddles fantasy and reality.
It ain't so funny once the rabbit got the gun.
Houston, we've had a problem.
You're not a Christian, you're a liar.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Big Joe Helms. He was a lot of fun to talk with, and I can't wait to have him back on the show. I've actually got to talk to him a few times since we recorded this, and he's a pretty awesome guy and really down to earth. I'm glad that I was able to have him on here for you guys to hear this amazing story of how he got into pro wrestling. I look forward to seeing where he goes in the future. Hopefully you guys will go out and kind of look up some of his stuff, try to follow him, along with a lot of these other wrestlers that I've had on here. Go and check them out. They have some amazing matches out there that you can go and find in different places. You can find them on YouTube, or you can go to Mid-States and get some of the DVDs that they have, or Wrestling for a Cause, or any of the other ones that I've had on here. Just go out and follow them. Support local wrestling. Support your local wrestlers. So next week, I am going to have with me Christopher Allred. He is the owner and promoter for Crown Championship Wrestling, and I'm looking very much forward to talking to him in this next week. I've talked to him a few times, trying to get things straight, on what we're going to talk about and everything. I know we are going to discuss some NCAA football and the future of how that might look. We're also going to discuss wrestling because, I love wrestling on this show. I know this is not a wrestling podcast, but I do talk about it a lot because if you give a dad a podcast, and I'm a dad who likes wrestling, so you give me a show and I'm going to talk about what I like on here. So hopefully you guys stick around for that next episode. And then the week after that, I will be having the Iceman, Howard Moritz. He is out of Missouri as well. And then the week following that, I have MJ Bell, who is a referee. So I believe this is the first time that I've had an actual referee on my show. He is a referee for Game Changer Wrestling. It's going to be a lot of fun talking with him as well. And then after that, I have Philip Douthit, who is a men's marriage counselor. So I'm trying to shake things up a little bit and get some different people on here. And on my calendar I have here the weekend after that is I'm going to have the Johnnies back on here. They're actually, as far as I know, we're trying to set it up. At the end of September, I plan on having them over here at my house to record in person, and we're going to talk comic books. So I'm very excited about that one coming up. So, yeah, I've got some pretty cool shows that are coming up, and I hope that you guys stick around for them. And for those that came just to hear the Joe Helms episode, I hope that you enjoyed what you heard, and I hope that you stick around and try to find something else here that you enjoy. I've got plenty of episodes for plenty of people. I could have potentially anything that you could ever want to hear right here on this show. So the people who are listening right now, if you like the episode, go out and rate it and review it. Or even if you didn't like the episode, go out and rate it and review it and tell me what you thought. If you like it, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Just let me know what you think. And if you guys want to send me a line, you can do so at giveadatapodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to keep up with the show, you can also follow me on social media. You can follow me on Facebook, and it's at IYGADAP, which is the acronym for If You Give a Dad a Podcast, or as I like to say, IGADAP. You can also follow me on Instagram, and that's at Give a Dad a Podcast. And you can also follow me on Twitter, and that's at DadPodcast11. You can find me on any of those places to keep up with what's going on with the show. If anything special's happening, if anything's changing, that's where I'm most likely going to be telling you about it. I still have the Rad Dad shout out to anybody who wants to send me a line to maybe give a shout out to their dad. Or if you are a dad or a parent and you are proud of something that your kid has done and you want to brag about it, then you can do a proud parent shout out on this show as well. For protection of kid purposes and stuff like that, you can omit their names, things like that. We'll make it as safe as possible, just as long as you're able to say, hey, I'm proud of my kid for doing this. And yeah, that's what the show is all about. I want to make this a place where people can express what they want to express here and feel safe doing it. I love doing this show. I love having these people on my show, and I'm very thankful, and I love the listeners that I have for this show. So I'm going to bring this show to a close, and yeah, I look forward to bringing more episodes to you. I am very thankful for your support. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed our show, come back next week. Come on, guys. You know you want to come back. Might get some laughs. Oh yeah, another episode in the books.